Yes, yes.
Hazur, this question is concerning 12 tribes of Israel which left Palestine at a certain time. Now, first
Not,
of all,
not all the 12?
12 tribes.
Did they leave Palestine? All of them?
That's what I'm going to ask you, sir.
10 tribes were expelled from the mainland, that is Judea, within Judea they lived. At different times of history, not all together, all of them.
But there's one...
I mean, in one, for instance, one invasion, some tribes were expelled, at another invasion, some others had to migrate, and due to the difficult conditions and or due to the vengeance of the ruling, of the government, because they attempted a rebellion or were at least alleged to have attempted rebellion. So,
but these 10 tribes, there were 10 tribes who were expelled from Palestine at various times.
yes, that's right.
Now the point is, were they expelled or did they leave voluntarily?
No, not voluntarily, not at all. In fact, they were the Jews were constantly hoping to have their own government, and they still hope to have a world government. So the Israeli plans are not just for Palestine, that is just a springboard to them. They believe that Hazrat David, whom they consider a king and not a prophet, but they revere him very highly, and because he is the one through whom the promises of a worldwide government have reached generations. And it is, the belief of all the Jews that ultimately the house of Israel, through David, because he is the original one whom it was promised, would conquer the entire world. Palestine is just a stepping stone towards that ultimate objective. Now this is so old that ever since the time of Hazrat Dawood ﷺ, or rather from the time of the loss of the great empire after the death of Hazrat Sulaiman ﷺ, they have been attempting repeatedly to overthrow the government of that province that was under Roman rule, and at least have some foothold in that area. From then on they could spread to the adjacent countries and enlarge their territory. Now these attempts failed, and because of that they were invaded by the central government, at the instance of central government, by nearby rulers who were in fact tributaries of the greater Roman Empire, or through other factors. Different times, different things happen. Anyway, the net result was that they were trampled upon, they were destroyed, annihilated. It was seen that the Temple of Solomon was totally demolished and effaced from earth, and it was defiled. In fact, so much so that at the time when Hazrat Umar Radhiyallahu Ta'ala Anhu conquered that area and visited that place, it was a heap of refuse and filth, the most sacred place. So because of this long history of repeated attempts to capture the government and their subsequent defeats, things were made so hot for them, so intolerable in that area, that those tribes, particularly who were involved in one particular rebellion, they either could not live or they were expelled by the government. But they never went out of volition.
I have read that book where about this conspiracy form a world government. They have used different words. I forgot the name of that book. It's a very good book.
This is the protocol of the elders of Zion.
Yeah, that's right.
And the commentary, which is a very useful commentary, and in fact you can't understand the true import of the book without the help of that commentary. That is written perhaps by a Protestant bishop or something, I don't remember, but a church representative from the Protestant sect. He has made a lot of research on this, and the book he has written is named Waters Flowing Eastwards.
Yes.
I don't know why he has chosen this title, but it was found once in the market under this title. He has not only commented on this small booklet, Elders of Zion, but also he has traced the entire history of the struggle between the Jews and the non-Jewish forces about this book. Throughout, the Jews have been trying to disown it and trying to prove it to be a forgery.
I see.
On the contrary, at various times, various people, Christians and others, have attempted to prove it to be an authentic book, a true representative book of the Jewish elders. Now this has sometimes, this issue has been taken to courts, and at such times it was so organized that when the issue was taken to courts by Jews, the jury happened to be under the full influence of the Jews, and sometimes the judge himself was a Jew. So at one such opportune moment in Switzerland, they took the matter to the court, High Court of Switzerland, whatever it is called, and they categorically declared that this book is a forgery. It has nothing to do with the Judaism, and it's entirely a concocted thing and has no authenticity. Now they mentioned, the Jews propagated it all over the world, that this book has been proved to be totally a wrong one. I mean, a false allegation and nothing more. Yet what they forget to tell about, or they withhold from the rest of the world, is the fact that an appeal was made against this decision, and the Supreme Court of the same country totally disagreed and quashed the proceedings of the High Court and declared that this book is not a forgery but is a truly authentic work of the Jews. So he also traces other attempts and the Jewish attempts to suppress this, Jewish attempts to, first of all, create an impression that it is a hollow, hocus-pocus thing, has no substance. Number two, the Jewish attempts to take away the entire books published from the market at whatever cost. All those books which are published on this subject are immediately made, are immediately removed from the market, and they disappear within a matter of few days. And that author has also researched on this, and he quotes instances after instances where certain attempts were made by non-Jewish people to introduce this book to the public, and when it came to the market, immediately it got disappeared. And investigations showed that some rich Jewish houses bought the entire stock, lock, stock and barrel, and destroyed them. And threats were created on those houses which published these books. Only recently a book has come out in the market from in England. Research has been made on this subject, and the author of that book has disclosed certain very important facts, and he has also authenticated them and he's given full evidence. He was working on the ways and means of Freemasons. Allegations are made against such Freemasons, and he made full investigations about each investigation. And he seems to be a very, very fair-minded person, because he has given full credit for any possibility of doubt. And whatever he establishes after his argumentation appears to be a very weighty thing, not to be dismissed lightly. Now, he also speaks on the same thing. He says a very strange thing happened when this book was given to publishing house. They were extremely enthusiastic about it, and they decided, and we went into an agreement, and it was about to be published, and unfortunately that publishing house was bought by some other people. How it happened, I don't know, he says. And he gave the names and everything. Now, there were two brothers who became the managing board of that publishing house later on, and members of the managing board. And they kept on dilly-dallying and wouldn't offer any reason why the book was not published. So ultimately he lost patience and he went to see them and said, look here, I want a very clear answer. We have gone into an agreement, and your press was house was so enthusiastic about this book. Why? It's backing out now. So the excuse they offered was simply this, which is of course very lame excuse, but that shows something deeper within. He says, unfortunately for you, our father happens to be a Freemason, and we cannot afford to displease him. Whatever costs we have to pay towards this, whatever costs we have to suffer, this will not happen. And this book will not be published by our house. That was final. So it was with great difficulty he ultimately succeeded in have this book published. So this happens even now here, nowadays. I'm talking of just a recent incident. And in the book which we have referred to, Protocol of the Elders of Zion,
Yes, sir.
that book claims that the organization which will be known to the public eye, controlled by the elders,
Yes.
would be Freemasonry. And people will only know Freemasons, and beyond that there would be 30 tiers or 29 tiers, altogether 30 tiers. 29 tiers of secret organizations, one above the other, which will be completely unknown to the public. And we will manage to move things through the instrument of Freemasonry. And if something happens, we will exert pressures. Now this claim is exactly proved right when you study the history of Freemasonry. And the plan of Freemasonry which has been mentioned there, that also has come true. Also, that book mentions the future shape of the world, what type of the world government would come into being. And in that book, which was first discovered, it was written much earlier, first discovered in 1897 something in Germany, and later on it was smuggled to Russia and first came to light in 1905. It first came to light to the Russians earlier, but the first English version was published in 1905 in England. Now that book speaks of the United Nations so clearly, as if a prophet is making a prediction which has come true right to the letter. It speaks also of the World Health Organization, of the Children's Fund and things, of the aid program of the United Nations. and how the entire world would be brought under the influence of the United Nations, and that United Nations would ultimately be controlled